The notion that repeating past actions will always guarantee success is a fallacy, especially when situations and circumstances evolve and demand new strategies. This idea was called into question by King Charles when, at the age of 75, he revealed a startling truth that grabbed global attention. Known for his untraditional approach to royal life, King Charles has often chosen solitude and art over traditional royal duties, but this time his admission hinted at the possibility of profound changes to the future of the monarchy. His admission, considered long awaited by some, fueled speculation about what other secrets lie hidden within the walls of the palace and prompted wider discussions about the royal family's future. The fact that King Charles himself, known for his introspective and unconventional nature, openly addressed this truth adds a layer of complexity to an already complicated royal family narrative. King Charles's revelation showed that the idea of following a set, traditional path for success was a mistaken belief, emphasizing that different times required distinct approaches. His personal acknowledgement at 75 highlighted his changing perspective on his duties and responsibilities, particularly given his long-standing commitment to the monarchy. His pronouncement regarding the truth, which would challenge the foundations of our kingdom, left many pondering what shifts it might lead to in the royal family. This moment proved to be far more significant than a mere personal realization. It was a signal that King Charles might steer the monarchy in new, uncharted directions. Before understanding the weight of his statement, however, it is necessary to explore King Charles's long and turbulent journey leading up to his reign. He was born into the monarchy, the son of Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip. His fate was sealed from the day he was born. He was always going to be king. But this path was fraught with complications from the very beginning. King Charles was not an ordinary heir. Where his mother, Queen Elizabeth, embodied quiet restraint and stoic duty, he was sensitive, introspective, and often out of sync with the prescribed role of future monarch. His upbringing under constant public scrutiny shaped much of his early life. His every move was tracked by the media, leaving little room for him to grow outside the expectation of his royal destiny. His childhood was not the carefree experience one might expect. King Charles attended well-known schools, such as Cheam and Gordonstown, which were notoriously strict and demanding. While many might have thrived in these prestigious institutions, he found the rigid schedules and pressures unbearable. In fact, King Charles likened his experience at Gordonstown to being in a prison. That environment left deep scars, and as a young prince, he didn't fit the traditional royal mold. His upbringing, however, was much more challenging than a rigorous education. It was a conflict with his own sense of self and the mounting pressure to meet the high standards expected by his family and the public that began to shape his frustrations. Another significant factor contributing to King Charles's struggles was the stark contrast between him and his father, Prince Philip. The relationship between father and son was fraught with tension, as Prince Philip, a man of very traditional royal values, insisted on raising his son to embody physical strength and assertive leadership. King Charles, however, was more inclined towards intellectual pursuits, particularly painting, philosophy, and architecture. This divide between the father's expectations and the son's interests created an emotional chasm, often amplifying the pressures Charles already faced. These challenges left him torn between pleasing his father and finding a way to pursue his own path, eventually making him question the way in which the monarchy was operated. Despite these difficulties, King Charles never backed down from his duties. From the very start, he was trained and prepared to one day become king, and much of his youth was consumed by the rigid structure of this education. Yet as he matured, the sacrifices required to serve in such a role became evident, and the emotional toll became too much to ignore. The complexities of his internal struggles were compounded by the overwhelming realization that the monarchy was an institution rooted in tradition, and traditions, however powerful, had not always served it well in a modern world that was changing quickly. This awareness pushed King Charles to openly challenge many of the old conventions and ask difficult questions about the monarchy's relevance today. His work to transform it from the inside was crucial to maintaining its place in British society. At the heart of his activism was his unwavering belief in environmentalism and sustainability. Even though he faced plenty of resistance, he began speaking out about the importance of preserving the environment long before it became a mainstream cause. Back then, this wasn't a priority for many members of the royal family, but Charles's commitment was apparent to everyone who watched him carefully. Though critics questioned his ability to lead as king, few doubted his dedication to addressing the environmental issues he cared about so deeply. However, this commitment to environmental causes raised questions about the direction he wanted to take as king. Would he maintain these outspoken positions, or would he bow to the traditional neutrality expected of the monarch? The delicate balancing act between his royal responsibilities and his personal beliefs generated concern, particularly among those who worried that he might steer the monarchy off its established path. The media's sharp focus on his personal life, marriage, and hobbies brought both admiration and skepticism in equal measure. These private struggles only intensified as he moved closer to becoming king. Over time, Charles was painted as an enigmatic and misunderstood figure. Those closest to him, however, maintained that the man they knew was far more complex than what was often portrayed in the media. The complexities of his journey, from the insecurities about his royal role to his pursuit of meaningful change within the institution, finally became undeniable to the public as he took center stage in his royal duties. A crucial turning point in King Charles's path to the throne was his marriage to Princess Diana. The spectacular wedding in 1981, heralded as a grand, fairy tale union, quickly turned into a tale filled with hidden turmoil. The public saw only the glamour and celebration of the event, but within the marriage itself, deep tensions brewed. Diana, young and vulnerable, struggled to cope with the harsh realities of royal life, and the pressures placed on her proved to be overwhelming. Charles, though older and more accustomed to public attention, found himself unable to reconcile his private desires with the constraints placed upon him as future king. The resulting strain marked the beginning of a breakdown that led to an unhappy marriage and ultimately a divorce. Their marriage was emblematic of the divide between the public perception of royal life and its often painful reality. Despite the royal family's efforts to project an image of grace, duty, and perfection, the truth behind the palace walls told a much darker story. The constant media scrutiny only intensified this divide, adding additional layers of complexity to King Charles's life. With the future of the monarchy at a crossroads, King Charles's decision to confront his past and own his struggles marked a significant departure from the past and offered an opportunity to redefine royal duty. As he opened up to the world about the painful process of self-discovery, it became clear that he was ready to lead the monarchy into the future on his own terms. How his reign unfolds will certainly shape the future of the royal family, but in doing so, it reveals the complexities of leadership in the modern era. A leadership that must balance tradition with the changing expectations of the people it serves. What lies ahead is uncertain, but it will undoubtedly be a path driven by both the weight of the past and the urgency of adaptation. As the dust settles from King Charles's shocking revelation about the future of the monarchy, the gravity of his words begins to reverberate throughout Britain and beyond. For much of the world, the monarchy has symbolized stability, history, and national identity, standing as a beacon of continuity and tradition amidst the rapid changes of modern times. But Charles's open admission about the monarchy's future, suggesting the institution may not last in its current form, represents a powerful shift in royal discourse. It raises questions not only about his reign, but the very fabric of the monarchy as we know it. For over 7 decades, the monarchy has endured dramatic historical changes, wars, political upheavals, technological advances, and the march toward globalization. Yet, despite these shifts, the British monarchy largely remained intact, practically untouched by these large-scale transitions in the outside world. The royal family became synonymous with tradition, epitomizing an ever-present fixture in British society. However, Charles's candid remarks, now echoing across media outlets, present a significant break from his predecessor's unwavering commitment to uphold the monarchy's sacred status. His words invite a broader discussion. What does the monarchy mean in today's world? Does it still serve the people, or has it grown out of touch with the values that define modern society? For Charles, who has spent much of his adult life preparing to inherit the throne, the burden of this monumental institution is not lost on him. After decades of royal service and service to the crown in a more conventional sense, he finds himself at a crossroads. Does he continue to safeguard and uphold an institution increasingly questioned for its relevance, or does he lead the charge for reform and transformation, driving the monarchy into a new, more progressive era? In choosing to vocalize his concerns now, Charles signals an awareness that the monarchy is not merely an anachronistic institution waiting for its next page in history, but instead one undergoing pressure from outside forces that could unravel centuries of continuity. Looking back at the history of the British monarchy, few, if any, monarchs have had to carry such weight of public scrutiny, particularly Charles. His life, from an early age, was marked by the demands of a future that was both a privilege and a burden. Duty beckoned while personal desires often clashed with the expectations placed upon him by his family, the state, and the public. His journey was tumultuous, racked with the media's intrusive focus on his personal life, the intensity of royal duties, and the never-ending balancing act between private happiness and public responsibility. His marriage to Diana Spencer, the fairy tale that once gripped the world's imagination, ultimately crumbled under the immense pressures of both their personal challenges and the constant eye of the media. Diana, lauded by the public as a beloved people's princess, became a symbol of sympathy as her marriage to Charles disintegrated in front of an ever-watchful world. Diana's own struggles with the intense scrutiny and the heartbreak of her marriage have since cast a lasting shadow, with the tragic death of Diana in 1997 drawing a line under a period of intense public and personal strife for Charles. Yet, despite the public calamity, and amid the severe impact on his personal reputation, Charles began the slow, arduous task of redefining himself, first as a charitable leader and then, perhaps more unexpectedly, as a progressive voice on environmental and sustainability issues. Long before many political figures, Charles used his influence to speak out on matters of ecological sustainability and the future of the planet. Despite being labeled as a prince of vegetables by some critics, he never relented, finding ways to weave his passions and commitment to environmentalism into the public narrative. In the process, he amassed a wealth of public goodwill for his ecological campaigns, which garnered support for their timely relevance. His focus on ecological stewardship, architecture, and organic farming gave him a more grounded and, some might say, visionary persona, breaking away from the sometimes stuffy royal image that was more entrenched in tradition and ceremony. Nevertheless, Charles's private life, though seemingly more settled with his second wife Camilla, Duchess of Cornwall, continued to be of public concern, particularly as the media seemed reluctant to release him from the shadows of the Diana years. Camilla's role in the public's eyes, often seen through the lens of the painful royal saga of Diana's betrayal, remained scrutinized by many who were resistant to seeing her as a legitimate member of the royal family. Yet time has shown that public opinion has softened, as both Charles and Camilla's work in charitable causes and royal duties has helped shift the narrative. Their relationship, now accepted, stands in stark contrast to the tensions that defined their early years together. However, it would not be unfair to say that even within their reconciliation, the specter of the past lingers, and their path to public acceptance remains a nuanced one. As King Charles approaches his reign, his thoughts on the monarchy are inevitably reshaping its future trajectory. Unlike the long-standing traditions established before him, which offered relatively little room for questions about the monarchy's place in society, Charles seems keenly aware of the changing attitudes toward the monarchy both within the UK and abroad. Though still respected for his position, he recognizes the increasing calls for a more modern and perhaps less ritualistic monarchy. His open acknowledgement that the monarchy might not survive in its current form presents a revelation that goes beyond public speculation. For the first time, a monarch is openly questioning the institution's role in the modern era. This reflection could transform how the British people and the wider world view the monarchy. The acknowledgement of potential change is not only about shifting public attitudes, it's about reevaluating the role of monarchy within a democratic context. The influence of modern democracy challenges ancient traditions, and the values of equality, transparency, and inclusion are questioning older, more hierarchical forms of leadership, including the idea of monarchies themselves. The fact that Charles is acknowledging these issues speaks to the growing concern that the monarchy, in its current state, may be outdated in today's world. What does it mean to be an institution of national unity in an age of mass communication, social movements, and an increasingly skeptical public? Charles's commentary is also indicative of his personal philosophy. If the monarchy is to evolve and thrive, it must embrace a progressive change, one that goes far beyond superficial adaptations. He's not simply advocating for tweaks and reforms, but rather for a thorough rethinking of the monarchy's role and values. His approach to royal life has always pushed for modernization in subtle but profound ways, whether through advocating for organic farming practices, speaking out on climate change, or supporting architectural designs that bring the royal estate into modernity. Charles has quietly asked his royal family to reconsider outdated norms. And now, as he stands on the precipice of his own reign, it seems he is considering whether these changes need to encompass the very soul of the monarchy itself. What Charles's words ultimately indicate is a recognition of the times they're living in. To continue in the way they always have would simply be a failure to respond to societal changes. After all, no institution can afford to remain stagnant in the face of rapid transformations. By choosing to air his thoughts, Charles suggests that the monarchy must look inward, facing a future shaped by forces beyond tradition. In many ways, Charles's open discussion about the monarchy's potential evolution is his most radical act as king and marks a turning point for both the royal family and the wider conversation on what it means to have a monarchy in today's society. This makes for a new era that could fundamentally redefine what it means to be royal, with consequences that could reverberate far beyond Britain. Only time will reveal whether this shift in perspective will trigger tangible reforms, or if it remains a philosophical gesture. Either way, the monarchy's uncertain future will now be the subject of an ongoing and much-needed public dialogue. This isn't just a personal thought Charles is sharing. It could signify a major shift in the future of the British royal system. People close to Charles have revealed that he believes the monarchy must fully embrace 21st century values if it wants to stay relevant, as merely sticking to tradition won't suffice. While some progress has been made, it's clear that significant changes might be on the horizon, perhaps even bigger than anyone anticipated. The question now is, what exactly does he have in mind? Is he calling for a complete restructuring of the monarchy, or something even more transformative? The mere fact that these questions are being raised hints at the possibility that Charles is preparing for a major overhaul in how the monarchy functions and connects with today's society. Though Charles remains unsure about the monarchy's future, one thing is clear. He no longer believes that the monarchy will last forever. But just when we thought his thoughts on the matter were surprising enough, Charles revealed something even more shocking, an important discovery that left even the most knowledgeable royal experts speechless. After years of secrecy, Charles decided it was finally time to share this hidden truth, a truth that could fundamentally change how the public sees the royal family. For years, whispers from Windsor suggested that the royal family had been keeping many of their internal workings and personal lives under wraps. But Charles's latest statement suggests that there's something much deeper at play. This discovery hints at a hidden truth about the royal family, one that could change the very foundation of the monarchy. Insiders believe that this revelation is directly related to the monarchy's role in today's world. For years, there have been rumors that the royal family is struggling to maintain its relevance in a rapidly changing society, and Charles's recent comments seem to confirm these whispers. However, the issue at hand isn't merely about relevance. It's about whether the monarchy can survive at all. He has hinted that the monarchy isn't as solid as the public might think. This suggests the royal family has quietly been grappling with its place in British society, especially as public opinion continues to shift against traditional institutions. The future of the British royal family could indeed be at a major turning point. Recently, Charles shared that the royal family has a backup plan in place in case their role ever comes into question. This revelation has sparked great excitement among royal watchers, who are now eager to understand what this might mean. Could the royal family be preparing for a future where their role in British culture is less central? Or is there something even more significant unfolding behind the scenes? Some believe that Charles is planning big changes in how the monarchy functions. Perhaps he envisions a smaller, more modern version of the royal family that would be better suited to today's world. This could involve fewer active royals, less public funding, and a more transparent approach to their lives. There's even a more drastic possibility. Charles might be preparing for the monarchy to eventually come to an end. While this notion may seem shocking, it's not entirely off the table. Charles has suggested that the monarchy's survival is not guaranteed, especially with younger generations being more critical and curious about the role of traditional institutions. As these newer generations question the need for the monarchy, Charles may be positioning the royal family for a future where their role in British life becomes less significant. What does all of this mean for the monarchy's future? That's the million-dollar question. While Charles's comments have sparked a wave of speculation, the truth is that no one really knows what will happen next. One thing is certain, though. The royal family stands on the brink of monumental changes, and the future of the monarchy is likely to look very different from its past. These upcoming changes could determine the monarchy's relevance in a modern world, and as we watch these developments unfold, it will be fascinating to see where this story leads. So, what's your take on all of this?